America show with Mr. Daryl Brooks.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the On Fire Show. This is the host, Daryl Brooks, with my other two great co-hosts. Yes, Rebecca. Are you there, Rebecca Boyd?
I am here. So excited to be here.
And Chris Cloud. Hey, Chris. Wow, man. How you doing?
It's a long time making. Glad to be here.
Oh, yeah. I am so excited. Thank you all for watching and supporting. We have another special guest, Mr. Alan Keyes, Ambassador. How you doing?
I am doing well. How are you? Glad to be with you. Glad to help you kick this off.
I am so excited with these other two great hosts, Rebecca Boyd and Chris Cloud. But we're going to ask Rebecca first. Tell us about you, Rebecca.
So I am just a big patriot and lover of freedom. And I think that the United States is the greatest country. And big Second Amendment advocate. I just really appreciate the rights that we have in this country. There's nowhere else in the world that you can go, even though we're not perfect, where you get the same individual rights as we do here in the United States. So I'm excited to talk about the issues.
Also, we want to get a nice close-up of Rebecca so people can see around the country, around the world, can see Rebecca. Yes.
Hey,
everyone. Hey. All right. Thank you, Rebecca. And so we got the man from Virginia, Chris Cloud. How you doing, my brother Cloud?
I'm doing great. I'm coming to you guys from what I call the front line of the heartland, which is basically the first conservative bastion that you hit in Virginia. Everything north of Route 50, Loudoun County, all the way up to darn near Canada, and everything east of Route 15, Prince William County, all the way to the Atlantic Ocean is liberal. And Fauquier County, where I'm coming from, is the first conservative point that you hit. I say we are the farthest east in the flyover America. And you know, I echo what Rebecca said. America, I'll add that it is based on merit and opportunity. And I really look forward to bringing back the concepts of merit in this country, because that's part of what made this country great. Yeah, and it is exceptional.
Yes, definitely, we're an exceptional country. You know, Chris, I had a hard time saying Fauquier County. It took me a while.
It happens a lot. It happens a lot. Believe me. You got to be very careful with voice. Yeah, voice to text is difficult.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So listen, we're going to have exciting shows once a week. Hopefully we go 2 or 3 days in a week, but it's going to be exciting. I am just so happy to have you as a co-host, both of y'all. It's a pleasure. And so we have our special guest, Mr. Alan Keyes, Ambassador Keyes.
Hi.
You ran for president in 1996 and 2000 and 2008, right? Am I right?
96 and 2000 were
So
kind of most serious involvement in all of that, you know. So that's
and you ran against Obama.
And I ran against Obama in Illinois because the candidate who was supposed to run against him backed out, and people in the party, Republican Party in Illinois, asked me whether I'd come out and do it. And of course, at first, because I was in my right mind, I said no. Why would I do it? I'm in Maryland. But when I learned a little bit about him, I thought it would be worth it just in order to stand against this candidate who was coming forward in order to advocate for abortion and all of these things that I think are dreadful, but who also seem to be coming from that Marxist-Leninist viewpoint, which has now become more open. He was a little less open in his avowal of it than you see people do now. But I think it was a good maneuver because he was able to give a speech at the Democratic convention in which he actually sounded like a reasonable guy.
Yeah.
And then you actually get a taste of who he is. And he's one of those folks who I call it the anti-American Democrat Party now, because I think they've definitely rejected the founding understanding. And in particular, the fact that this nation was founded with reverence for God. And they just want to kick it out of the picture. So anyway.
Listen, I just want to thank you. You're A-list. You're definitely A-list guest and person. and we've seen you at the Rod of Iron Festival. What I met you at was, I think it was last year. So it's been you're an exciting individual, an exciting speaker. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about is what's happening all around the world. And it's happening, with the riots happening around the world, Israel, Palestine, what's happening there. But the problem is, will it come to America? And we're looking at the border, and these protests are happening all around the world. The producer can go to the protests and videos, and we will show you.
This one. You want a gun show?
No, the videos.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, got you.
It's just devastating to know that Israel continues to escalate its violence, its genocide against Palestinians in every way. We call on the U.S. to demand an end to Israel's ground invasion and Israel's bombardment of Gaza.
When we know that they cut the internet and everything that can get us involved with our families back home, we feel so sad. Please, everybody get help. Please, it's a time to help now. Stop killing kids.
No peace! No peace! No peace!
Wow. So we're going to start with Chris. Chris, what do you think when you see this?
What do I think? It's an excellent commercial for for gun rights, for self personal protection. I think there were videos of protests breaking what I call the final barrier, where the protesters are going into people's houses as they marched that down in Washington, D.C. We see this frequently. Whenever something happens, there's this tantrum season. There's a period of time where globally people throw tantrums, and no one's ever held accountable for this. But at the same time, it seems that once they get this out of their system, there aren't any consequences from it. So it doesn't serve any purpose other than just letting people throw tantrums. And that seems to be more important these days than actually affecting change. The interesting thing about this, going from the 30,000-foot view to the specifics here, Gaza the Palestinians are still hurtling armaments across the border. So they're screeching for a ceasefire while they're still engaging in a kinetic war. And that's something we don't hear very much about. It never ceases to amaze me how much projection the left commits. Everything that they say, then they accuse others of, they're doing. And isn't it ironic that the most intolerant and vitriolic and violent are the voices on the left? None of these people would survive a week in Gaza.
Yeah. Becca?
I think I just find it disturbing how you hear people in Palestine saying no justice, no peace. Israel is there because of what happened, because of Hamas. They're trying to get the people back who were taken hostage. Israel was the country that was invaded. Hamas murdered children, women, parents, children in front of their parents in front of their children. It was a massacre and a horror show. So when I don't hear people denouncing what Hamas did, instead they're saying death to Israel and death to America. That's that's what I don't understand. Israel is trying to defend itself and get its hostages back. They were the ones that were attacked and invaded.
Well, we have a great expert on, Ambassador Keys. Give us your expert opinion on what's happening.
Well, I think what they want to happen is that we should look at the massacre of 1,300 people, including children and people who were, by the way, doing nobody any harm. They were going about their business, and I think attending a peaceful music festival, some of them, and so forth and so on. And they come into the scene and kill them, and then have the nerve to stage demonstrations acting as if Israel is responsible for the violence. And I always find that appalling about these people, because they strike the first blow, they go in and kill people, and then if you do anything about it, you're the bad guy. That doesn't work. And I think it's not working in most of the world, because we can see through that and understand that the aggressors are the ones who are responsible for the death. And we are not expected anywhere in the world. You shouldn't be expected to sit back and take that in order to invite further aggression. And these are the people who will then chant, as people were doing on campuses in America in support of this atrocity. What were they doing? They were chanting that Palestine will not be free. It must be from the from the river to the sea, and so forth. Meaning to say you got to abolish Israel. So they announced that theirs is the vendetta, and it's not supposed to be this way, because actually Hamas was given the rulership over Gaza, right?
Yes.
When they were able to establish a situation where that was supposed to help guarantee the peace, and Israel withdrew. And what did they then proceed to do? Did they then proceed to produce the best government they could and get people in Gaza into a situation which, by the way, the Israelis would have cooperated with, right? And I noticed that people always neglect this. They act as if there is nothing going on. But Israel has actually worked with its neighbors when they want to work with them in order to help them improve their situation, in order to help build businesses and give and make sure that people will have jobs and all of this. But that's not what Hamas was about. Hamas then proceeded to dig itself in, build a military infrastructure in which they have stored all kinds of weapons and munitions and so forth. And over top of it, in order to create hostages, they then build and have people living who are the Palestinians who live in Gaza. And they obviously meditated this for a very long time. In order to create a situation in which they would go in, they would start the atrocities by killing 1,300 people, and then they would claim that when Israel mobilizes in order to respond to their violence, Israel is attacking innocent people. No, Israel is attacking the people because guess what? Hamas has built its military infrastructure. All the place where they store the munitions and have their meetings and do their training and so forth. It's all built under the city of Gaza. And that means that the hospital that they claimed was bombed by Israel, but was actually their inept use of one of their own weapons. They are obviously using the people there as cannon fodder. That's not what responsible government does. And it has nothing to do with making the situation better. And then all of a sudden, you want all these people to say, well, ceasefire now, ceasefire. So we're going to come and kill you. And right after we come and kill you, that's when the shooting should stop. So that the only killing that's done is the killing of poor people, and nothing is done to discourage the notion that a free-for-all is now underway where people can go into Israel and kill everybody, which is what they claim they want to do. So what are folks supposed to do? So they're surrounded by these people, Hamas, Hezbollah, and they claim they want to destroy and kill Israel and push out all the Israelis and kill all the Israelis. But then when they actually start the killing, the Israelis are supposed to act as if they are gentlefolk who only want a peace and a ceasefire.
Chris?
Well, I find it interesting. It's kind of condemning that one of the very clever tactics that that Israel has executed recently is, Hezbollah and Hamas, they're attacking through tunnel systems, like you mentioned, Mr. Keys. they had the brilliant idea to pump purple smoke into their end of the tunnel. A lot of purple smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And then just watch and level the areas where the purple smoke comes out on the other ends.
That's right.
Because that irrefutably is where the tunnel, or the entrances to the tunnels are. They have been. How can somebody be the instigator of an attack? They're using this. They're trying to justify their actions by saying that Israel has been an oppressor for 75 years and all these horrible things. But they're never actually refuting the atrocities that Hamas committed.
Yeah.
They're just trying to excuse those atrocities by saying, but look at what they've done to us, as evidenced by the fact that when they pump this purple smoke in on the Israeli end of these tunnels, that smoke's coming out in what are supposed to be civilian buildings and civilian locations and residences, but they're not.
With that, go ahead.
No, that's all.
Okay.
They have a history of using human shields. I love the image that I saw of the Israeli soldier with a rifle, and this is a cartoon, but behind the Israeli soldier is a pram, is a carriage, baby carriage, and he's firing at a Palestinian soldier who's aiming a rifle at him, and the Israeli soldier the Palestinian soldier has a pram in front of him. Yeah. So you have the Israeli soldier protecting the pram, and the Palestinian soldier using the child as a human shield.
Terrible thing. We're going to go to a station break. We're going to go to our sponsors, the Nation's Gun Show, and then we're going to go into another video after that of some of the protest riots that are happening, especially in America. We'll be right back. This is the On Fire Show with Daryl McKell Brooks, Chris Cloud, and Rebecca Boyd, with our very special guest, Ambassador Alan Keyes.
We're at the Nation's Gun Show in Chantilly, Virginia, which is one of the largest gun shows. Besides coming to the gun show and just buying a handgun for yourself, they've got rifles, there's relic guns from World War II, and if you're a history buff, you can take your firearm that you have and have a custom holster made for it. You can get things engraved. You can buy knives and flashlights and hats and Cerakoting, which is where you cover all types of cleaning supplies and ammo and educational videos and books. I mean, it's like a domino effect where once you touch one item, you buy a gun, and you need bags to carry all that in. It's all available here at the gun show.
This particular show has been around for a while. It's one of the largest in the area. We always try to attend because many of the thousands of visitors that come through this show also have a chance to come through and see the NRA's National Firearms Museum. It's a great facility. We have thousands of guns for folks to see, just as there are thousands of guns here at the Showmaster Show. But it's a chance to see history, and that's the best thing about a good gun show.
We have today some original Thompsons here, original Maxims from as far back as World War I. One of my philosophies personally is that none of us, whether we're dealers or individual collectors or that, actually own these guns. We're just trustees for the next generation.
I've been a collector of antique arms for probably 30 years, but I love history, and so I bring mostly my antique vintage arms centered around most of the wars of American history. I've got stuff from the Revolutionary War through the War of 1812, all your major wars, Mexican War, Civil War, Old West items, anything pre-1898 is my forte, but I'm just a collector at heart. I love America, I love our country, and I love history.
There are also swords. I love swords, and the reason is they're beautiful. Not only because they're beautiful, but because they meant so much to the people who were using them. They stood for honor. They stood for personal values. They stood for family history. In other words, they stood for so much more, if I may put it this way at a gun show, than a firearm ever could or ever did. Well, I'll tell you, this is a great show because of the enormous crowds that it brings in. You know, often things walk in through the door, interesting things. You know, maybe a dealer can purchase them. Maybe they walk in just so a dealer can tell the owner what he or she has on their hands. And you've got things here that would delight a history professor. It's an education.
My chief interest is mostly samurai swords, Japanese swords, and I have sold a lot of suits of armor, complete sets. Most of the swords you find in this country were the ones that were brought back by the military after World War II. And a lot of them bring them to me, they say, this is my uncle's sword, this is my grandfather's sword that he brought back, tell me something about it. So I take it apart and analyze it and give them all the information they need. The fun of it, the swords, in like any collecting, is the knowledge, what you're learning and what you're getting out of the study.
Knives are like firearms. You have rifles, you have handguns, you have automatic. There are a lot of different types of knives. And so what we do is offer a large selection in all of the major areas. So outdoor sports, including hunting, backpacking, camping, those kinds of knives, which are completely different from custom and collectible knives, which are different again from everyday carry folding knives, pocket knives, and we carry knives that range from about $20 to several $1,000s. Knives are an investment, not unlike firearms, and we carry products for that. And what we bring to the shows, 600, 700, 800 most popular knives.
Mostly people, they come to the gun show, they're very educated. People, they bring their family, they bring their children to show them how to buy a knife, how to handle knife, how to handle the gun. They all family people and they enjoy their life and they enjoy their hobby. I do have some regular knife, then I have some handmade knife in the USA, right here in Virginia. Each one they put their name on it too.
First and foremost, what we've been able to provide is a wide range of training from the very bottom level, which is a Virginia certification course for being.
All right, we're back. Welcome to the On Fire Show. We're here with Daryl McKell-Brooks, Chris Cloud, and Rebecca Boyd. And we have our very special guest, Ambassador Alan Keyes. Ambassador Keyes, you know, you've been seeing the videos about the protests here in America. And we've seen the ones around the world, but at some of these universities and cities, should Americans be worried about violence that could take place right here in our own cities?
Well, I think we ought to, and it's a function of something that unfortunately has become even more acute during the course of these Biden years, which if we're not careful, they're going to be the years that the Biden locusts were eating up America, because I think they're doing such damage that we're going to be hard pressed to recover from it. And that's particularly true with the neglect of the southern border, and essentially taking an attitude of just y'all come. We actually stem the tide and come to an understanding, because I don't know that we just want to discourage people who are looking for hope from coming to America. So that what Trump did in reaching an understanding with the Mexican government and giving us an opportunity to actually have a stable effort to make sure we're able to vet and the people who are coming through, I think that makes sense. We have never been a country that dedicates itself to keeping people out, because we know decent people all over the world are attracted to the way of life we've been able to build and have come here and helped us to build it over the course of the country's history. So I don't know that we are, that people always try to portray it as if we don't want immigrants. That's not true. All of us, for various reasons, including, of course, being dragged over here to work on a plantation. But no matter how you got here, everybody, I think, who lives here, grows up here, and knows that if there's something wrong, you have an opportunity to correct it. Otherwise, you have amazing opportunities to build life for yourself, for your family, for your community. And a lot of people are going to be attracted to that, and et cetera. But in the process of neglecting our border, this guy, I think, has let cadre come into the country. Because who is working with for instance, the drug cartels in Mexico? It's Communist China. So if the Communist Chinese are providing the fentanyl and the drug dealers are making their money, what are the Communist Chinese getting out of it? Getting an opportunity. They're getting an opportunity to establish that relationship and then use it in order to make that a base from which they can send across our border people that I think they have put in place for that day when they are going to try to make good on their promises of knocking us out of our position as a leading nation in the world. And that's just the part of it, right? Because the fentanyl they're coming in, that's a direct attack on hundreds of thousands of American lives that are being lost on account of that. But what I see, therefore, is this open border thing is actually a way for people who want to destroy America to plant the human resources. I've had many, and read many of these reports that a lot of the men coming across the border, they don't come with children and families and all of this. They're just able-bodied people who look like they're most fit in the world to be part of some militia and so forth and so on.
Terror cells, the cells.
So that we will suffer the terror in the future. And I think when we're looking at what's going on in Israel, you think of, oh, that's over there. No, they're obviously going to bring that here. And I wouldn't be surprised if part of that doesn't involve taking advantage of the Biden weakness on the border in order to already have planted cells here that are waiting for the signal to start killing us.
Yeah, Rebecca is a Second Amendment supporter, and she is ready, and she is strapped, and she's waiting for him.
That's it.
Right? That's right. So, Rebecca, tell us your insight on, what do you think, and especially as a Second Amendment, you know everything about the guns, and so tell us about protection, and especially as a female, right. Do you feel protected, and how should other females be protected when this situation, if a situation ever arrives?
Right. Well, we saw the videos of what happened in Israel. People in their home were helpless and invaded in their own houses with babies and children, and they were left defenseless. Israel has strict gun control. For most people in Israel, it's very hard to get a gun to defend yourself with. It's not like it is in the United States. So what happened is kind of like what happened in Ukraine. After an event like this happens, then the government's kind of like, oh, okay, well, maybe we should make it easier for people to get firearms. Ukraine, when the war started, we were shipping them semi-automatic and automatic rifles, people who had never even handled a firearm of any kind before. It's better to be able to be armed and able to train and be prepared rather than not, and find yourself in a circumstance where you can't protect yourself. So the Second Amendment is, it is our individual right as a woman. It's the great equalizer, as they say.
Yeah. So we're going to go into another video of some of the riots and the protests that are some in America and around the world, and we're going to elaborate on some of the things that we've been seeing. Lana? Wow. Wow. Ambassador Keys, when you see these videos, I mean, you're talking about thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, all maybe millions of people around the world, and some of those flicks came from America. How much influence? I mean, do these people actually know what is, the Marxism? I mean, they're Marxists. Do you think that they know what they're protesting about, and do they actually care, or you think I mean, it's a hell of an influence?
Well, the standard of the Marxist-Leninist has always been to help stir up an emotional response in people who really don't understand what they're demonstrating for. And that's the sad thing about it. But I wouldn't want to discount the possibility, however, that especially in America, a lot of the folks who gather on the campuses and so forth, they think they know, because they've been spoon-fed by all of these leftist professors, and understanding that then has them. Because when I listen to this, I look at it and I say to myself, but wait a minute. What is the situation that we're actually looking at that these people are protesting? It's a situation in which you give control of Gaza to people who are then supposed to govern Gaza. They were elected by the people who live in the Gaza Strip to govern Gaza. And they immediately build tunnels and other stuff where they can go kill Israelis. And their whole existence is to go kill Israelis, right? And then they put people over those tunnels so that they will be essentially hostages that will then allow you to capitalize on any response that the Israelis happen to have to give if you attack them. by saying, "Oh, the Israelis kill people." Well, the Israelis don't kill people unless they have to, because they're being killed by those people. What the Israelis do is they build up a country that has been able to make contributions in electronics and all of these other kinds of areas, that has taken an area that was not necessarily being properly handled in terms of the farms and the production of crops and so forth, and turned it into a blooming area. They have made the crops bloom. And the people who live there, including millions of Palestinians who live in Israel, they have jobs and they go to work and they raise families and so forth and so on. They don't have to kill people. Israel is not about killing. And so Israel is about the business of building a country in which people can live and prosper. And the others spend their time doing what? Gathering billions of dollars in order to drive Israel out. And frankly, what is the motive for this? I think there's a certain motive of hateful envy in it, right? A certain motive that it tries to play on religious fervor, and so forth and so on. And then I think there's also just a motive of pure evil, of pure hatred of what is being accomplished by the people you want everybody to despise and kill. And what I think contributes to my sense of all of this is I might understand it if at the end of the day I didn't look back and think about the fact when the Nazi menace was being, we were fighting against it. People were fighting against it throughout the world, World War II. Who were the folks who were trying to get all buddy-buddy with the Nazis? It was the people who were fighting at that time to liberate Palestine and that whole area from of the British and these people, right? But they chose to ally themselves with the monster. I think the outcome for them would have been entirely different if they hadn't allied with the monster. But in any case, the treatment has not been that they want that nobody was willing to allow Israel to come in and take over their jobs and take over their territory and so forth and so on. That's not what happened. But what has happened, I think, has been a deep embarrassment to a lot of the people who claim them to be governments like Hamas, and they're supposed to be doing things to lift up their people, and instead they're doing things to turn their people into hostages to fortune so that they can launch a war against the hated people of Israel. And what is their real motive for this war? It's not that they're killing Palestinians and so forth. The Israelis have never started the battle to go kill any of the Palestinians. Started the wars from the moment that they got there, and were trying to build up basically a homeland for people who had been scattered throughout the earth and didn't have one, to return to their place of origin and build. And in a relatively small little chunk of the area. And I think what happened is that they started the first thing that they had to do was to defend against people who, from the moment that happened, had one motive in mind: to go kill the people of Israel before they got a foothold. And I look at the result and I think they built a nation that is now in many respects the envy of the world, and they have shared that with anybody who wants to work peacefully with them. Right? And so you're not excluding other people who are Palestinian and so forth and so on. And then they are ringed around with these, I think, self-interested little tyrants. You look at their governments, and their governments are oppressive. Their governments are destroying the rights of people. Their governments are not respecting the basic, how can I put it, the basic potential that every human being has to make life better for themselves and their families. That's not what's going on in a lot of the countries that circle Israel and want to destroy Israel. Instead, they're repeating the same old pattern that basically dominated in the Middle East throughout the ages, which was the pattern of a little clique of people getting absolute control and turning the rest into some form of slaves. And I think that this is sickening. And this is what they're claiming. And got so many of these people who are going against Israel on the premise that Israel is doing something bad, when the only country that's prospering as it should prosper are the Israel and the people who are willing, like Jordan, to come to a peace, Has Jordan been bombed and attacked by the deadly Israelis? No, of course not. They have prospered since they made peace with Israel. And I think that's all that the people of Israel want to do. They want to be able to have that prosperity. They'll share it with the people in their region, but that would then put the people who have been the rulers on the spot because they haven't been producing for their people and they know it.
Mm-hmm. Chris, you there?
I'm here. How are you doing?
I know you. How you doing? So give us your perspective of when you've seen the videos, and the anger of so many of our college students. And when you see these college students, they're inner city suburb, they are American students, black, white, Spanish. Even you have some from other countries that are in our colleges right now, and you see the anger and the hatred of when they speak about the Jewish people. I mean, does that bother you at all?
That's the only part that I'm concerned with. Like with Ukraine versus Russia or any other, for the vast majority, conflict that we've been involved with, my concern is how is it affecting life in America? And when I look at these videos and I see these news clips of what's going on, not just on universities, but in city centers, two things strike me. First is the number of people that hold these ideals.
Yeah.
The second thing that strikes me is the double standards by which they're living, by which they're applying this reasoning. But the focus that I really am concerned about is when somebody like Alejandro Mayorkas stands at a podium and says, our border is secure, our border is secure. He's not lying. He's speaking the truth. I put it to everybody. Our border is more secure today than it has ever been in the history of the border. I challenge anybody to fly 30 miles into Mexico and walk north and enter into America without the blessing and the knowledge and the sanction of the cartels who completely control that border better than we ever did. They have complete drum-tight control of that border. Everybody that's crossing is doing so with their blessing. And what we're seeing in these protests, I mentioned it earlier, it's tantrum season. We underestimate organizations like Antifa to our great peril. We need to look at these protests more as the genesis of the invasion that's been happening in our country for a lot longer than anybody wants to acknowledge. If I, as a tow-headed Virginia boy, mention the concept of replacement theory, then I'm branded a racist. The left uses the exact same concept, yet they call it demography is destiny. So when they want to influence and change an area politically, they know to import people that will do their bidding and will vote their way and will be beholden to them. Demography is destiny.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm really concerned about the numbers of people they're able to turn out for these protests.
Yeah.
At a moment's notice. And, they are organized, they're armed, they're trained, they're dedicated, they're financed, they're mobile. They're a concern.
Well, one of the things that was talked about on the news, and I talked to some other my friends of mine who are Jewish, and they said that they supported Black Lives Matter, and now Black Lives Matter are now supporting the Palestinian Hamas. I mean, how does that look? That when Black Lives Matter started, they got a lot of money from a lot of Jewish Americans helping them out. Now
Mr. Keys, you mentioned envy on one side, and I think there's a lot of that. That's what motivates a lot of this hate. But what is facilitating this hatred is guilt.
Mm.
And there's a lot of white guilt, and there's a lot of Jewish guilt. What's going on with these Jews that are supporting or coming out in favor of Hamas or the Palestinians or any of that? I maintain there's a lot of self-guilt involved that motivates that. And you know, it's a lot later than we think.
Go ahead.
I think that is a very astute observation, but it suggests to me that, how can I put it? I think the best remedy for that kind of phenomenon is the truth. And the truth is what? The truth is that if there are vulnerabilities, that is precisely why Israel exists. Because so if Jewish people are thinking about the vulnerabilities that they have to be wary of and have been throughout centuries, right? And wherever they settled in the world, including Europe and Middle East, it didn't matter. There was always that nagging sense. And it wasn't just a nagging sense that was theoretical, because periodically, just about everywhere, there would be uprisings. And there would be an effort to, we got to clean out all these Jews, we got to get rid of all these people, and so forth and so on. That then culminated in probably one of the worst atrocities in the history of mankind, the Holocaust that was perpetrated by the Nazis. So we're living in an environment where the true state of affairs is that evil is marching on, right? But the other side of it, though, is that this country has successfully built up something that then, despite all the brainwashing of leftist professors in our universities, what was put up at the beginning of this country's life was a banner that at first was being articulated by a group of white people. But the implication, when you go back and read the Declaration, is that you're throwing the door open to all of humankind, because all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. And in the course of our history, the doors were flung open. You know, did everybody welcome it and so forth? I don't know. But what was true was that people could come and seek to better themselves in the United States. And it started to be percolating, so that they came from China, they came from Africa, they came from all kinds of places. Some of them, of course, the Africans, like my ancestors, may have been brought against their will, but they were made part of a society that then decided to fight against the evil, because that was the banner that was established. That's not the way we're supposed to live. Let's change that. And they did. And I think that also had appeal to people, Jewish people, who can live in America, prosper in America, and not have to fear that people are going to be able, on a legitimate basis, to turn against us. So you can be wicked and you can go start to kill people if you want, but the law is going to stand in defense of those, Jewish or not. And so all of this, I think, suggests that there are the possibilities of a future. And I think that we are in the process of building and supporting that future. And frankly, when I've been back and forth to Israel a fair amount in the course of my life and career, in and outside of the government. And what I see is a country that mirrors that. And yes, did they have the vocation of being a safe homeland for Jewish people? Not only do I say yes, but I say, why not? Given that they had suffered through millennia. It's not just a short time that they have suffered. And we can look at the Bible and try to understand a little bit the origin of it all. But the simple fact of the matter is that Israel today exists by the providence of God in order, I think, to signal something about what all of us are supposed to be trying to do. And I think that that's being severely resisted by people who don't want the success of a country that actually respects humanity. Only want the success of countries that respect power and worship it as the be-all and end-all of human existence.
And with, and with that, Ambassador, Alan Keyes, I just want to thank you for coming on, and you're welcome to come on anytime. You're A-list guest. You're the man. Wiley is one of the most intelligent political thinkers in the country. And when I had you, and I talked to other people about you, and they was like, well, they have to watch Alan Keyes. He's highly intelligent. He knows his thing, and he's a special type of guy.
Well, I want to thank you, Daryl. I want to thank you for starting the show, and I know that from all I have known of you, you're going to make good use of it.
Oh, yeah.
My experience, I want to thank you for your guest today, because I think what we need is an uprising of people who have patriotic common sense and are implementing it in their lives to make sure that we defend this country, defend ourselves, defend our families, and at the same time, we don't lose sight of the fact that all decent people in this country are committed to making our promise to humanity a success.
Yes.
And I believe that somewhere in the heart of every American beats that pride in seeing that if we work together, we're not just bettering ourselves and improving ourselves and getting money and power for ourselves. We're making a difference for the prospects of the entire human race, sending people a message about what is possible when human beings work together under the rule of God's righteousness.
All right. Well, thank you. We're going to go into a 30-second break. We're going to come back with the team. And listen, Mr. Alan Keyes, I will call you after the show. You're welcome to come on anytime. Anytime you got any issues about, you're welcome to come on the On the Fire show. Welcome to America.
I appreciate it. I thank you for having me.
All right. All right, guys. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
Video check.
All right, we're back. Hey guys, how you doing? Great show.
Yes, very good.
Great,
Yes.
very good. The wife just pulled in her vehicle, and so the dogs have the alarms have gone off. So that's why I was on mute.
Yeah, lucky dog. Lucky, and what is
Nugget.
the other one? Nugget. I love those two dogs, Lucky and Nugget. Lucky will jump into bed with you and cuddle with you all night.
Daryl's a visitor. Daryl's a guest at our house so often that the dogs don't bark when he walks in.
Yeah, I love that. When I first came to your house that night, and Lucky looked at me, and oh my God! Then at 1 o'clock at night when y'all came in from DC, I mean, Lucky like he could wake the dead up. I was like, I jumped up, like, what's happening? Lucky's a special dog. Listen,
He's a lucky dog.
Yes. And so listen, I just want to say that, I want all the people that who are watching the show right now to share this show, the On Fire show, Welcome to America. I think we're a special type of host. We're special guys. And so we're trying to have special guests on to come on. And Mr. Alan Keyes, Ambassador Keyes, is one of the individuals who is an A-list guest. He knows his stuff. But, we want to have a lot of great conversations. And Rebecca, I am so excited to have you on. And
Thank you.
Yeah, I said at one time it was just going to be me and Chris. But we had to have a female on. We had to have someone as beautiful as you on who knows the Second Amendment. And I'm sure you'll be giving some kind of insight about the guns. And, you see the Chantilly show. That's coming up. As always, the gun show in Chantilly. That's in where's Chantilly at? That's Chantilly, Virginia, and it's a great gun show at the Dulles Expo. And Annette Elliott, she'll be coming on because Annette is like she owns the nation's gun show, and
awesome.
she's been on the show before, and to see a female that owns one of the largest gun shows in America.
That's exciting. I'm excited to talk with her. That'll be great.
Oh yeah, maybe she'll have you on. Listen, have you come down to the gun show and do some type of introduction to talk. Chris, you know how we stand. I just want to thank you for being one of the hosts and for the show on the new On Fire show. Welcome to America, man.
We look forward to it, and can't wait to see how this thing works out. It's going to be exciting. I'm really happy with how it's going.
Oh yeah, as soon as we get that intro right, you got to get that great intro song. People are going to enjoy it, and it's just that I want people to know, we're a different type of bunch. We're three of us. We've been involved in politics, more so me and Chris, and politics are in Virginia and me, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and I met. Rebecca at the Rod of Iron Festival, and I just said, "Wow, she's awesome. She has a lot of knowledge, and she has to come on the show. We need someone definitely like her." And so, what I want people to do is, to keep the show going on. You can click the link. We're going to have a link on top of the show. We want people to give and support, and it's a conservative link, and we're going to be raising more money for the different shows, for production, and have guests and do other great things. So after the show is over, you can check out the link. Just click the link. We're raising money. Support the On Fire show, because I believe the On Fire show will be one of the best podcasts on YouTube, Facebook, and all the other social networking companies. I am just excited. If we can get on X, that'll be great. I'm ready for X. And I got to give the book a plug. Welcome to America: How Cultural Marxism is Destroying Our Country. We talked about that, Chris and Rebecca, and it's so sad to see all these college students who are, becoming indoctrinated.
Yes, the lack of them being able and capable of critical thinking is extremely scary. It's like this group think where they're just kind of falling in line with what they think that the cool thing is, or what their liberal professors are saying, and a lot of them don't even know the facts or what Hamas really is like, or what they stand for, their radical ideology. I've seen the groups of, the LGBTQ, and there was another group, queers, marching in support of this. And they don't understand. You can't go over to a country where Hamas is in rule as a person with that way of thinking without them,
They will kill you. They will kill you.
Same Iran, which is now kind of stepping in and supporting Hamas. So it's scary to see the ignorance that is surrounding this, that people just don't have an understanding.
Yeah, they will kill you. And in Iran, even Afghanistan, and the Gaza, they will kill you. And a lot of these young kids, it bothers me. And I know, Chris, that we did talk about these things. We have these generation of young kids that are functionally illiterate. They can't read past, second or third grade level. And the ones in college, aren't that bright anymore. The critical thinking, as Rebecca said.
I remember growing up, I'm of an age where, as I matured, it was the generation right behind me that were cutting edge, really, in as much as I remember a nephew graduating from third grade into fourth grade, and they had the little mortar cap and the gown and the ceremony and all this, and there was that controversy. What's the point of this? What kind of indulgence is this? What are we doing? And don't you worry, because when they get to junior high, they're in for a rude awakening. When they got to junior high, it was already prepared. You had participation trophies. And the saying fell back to, well, when they get to high school, man, when they get to high school, you watch out. They're in for it in high school. That's really where the real world is.
Yeah.
And when high school came around, that the path was already laid for that ideology to flourish.
Yeah.
And that's happened all the way through. And one of the last fronts was, well, when they get out in the real world, in the working world, and when it has perpetually been 15 years later than most people think it is. This ideology, when they were giving out graduation ceremonies from elementary school, they already had the ideas laid out for DIE, diversity, inclusion, and equity. And equity, not equality. And inclusion and this whole woke ideology, it wasn't being laid when people were going from elementary to junior high and then junior high to high school. This whole process was already laid out, and we're just seeing the fruition of it.
I mean, yeah, you're definitely right. I mean, I didn't get nothing but perfect attendance when I went to elementary and junior high school. I love I love going to school. I would get the perfect attendance every year. So it tells you something. Well, listen, guys, I just want to thank you all for coming on. And I hate to say it, guys, because Rebecca, you're not a guy, you're a lady.
It's okay.
I just want to thank you all, and I want people to share the show. Listen, this is our first show, and I am excited. We're going to have shows every week. We're going to have different topics every week. And you're welcome to give us a call or send us an email or Facebook or YouTube. A couple of questions. You got any ideas about guests coming on the show? I am excited. And so I just want to thank you all for watching and supporting the On Fire show. Listen, welcome to America. All these things are happening. You got to get home, watch the news, exciting what's happening, and to talk about our next show. So I'd like to thank also Lana, Frankie Fantastic, who is the producer of the show. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you. This could not be done without you.
Right on.
She's out in California. Yeah. So listen, take care. God bless. I'll see you guys next week. I'll talk to y'all in a couple of hours.
Right on. Good night.
Take care. God bless. Welcome to America.
Welcome to America.
On Fire Show. Thank you. Take care. We're out.